I think this is working. Yeah, okay. Been procrastinating quite a bit today. I haven't actually dyed anything yet, so just going to jump straight into the retopolization of the mesh that I had. And if you've never done like any sort of retopolization stuff, I'm going to show you how to do it in Maya. Let's make sure I've got the OBJ exporter on. And what I'm going to do is just straight away just import the file that I made yesterday, which worked. Usually it doesn't read the OBJs that Zbrush gives me, but that's the decimated version of my character. I'm just gonna rotate that 90 degrees. Right, just so it's easier to navigate around this thing. And I'm going to be using a plugin called Nex, which when you install it comes up here. And I'm just going to select this mesh, and what I'm going to do is go to Edit Poly, Surface Line, and I want to make the make what I've got selected the surface constraint, and that's done. And I'm also going to add it to a layer and set that layer to a reference. And then what this allows me to do is, if I go into the next panel, which opens up this, I can go into something called Quadro, and if you've used the retopologizing tools in Zbrush, it works very similarly to how that operates. You know, just drawing points onto your mesh, you know, trying to follow the lines that you've got going. And I have to do this for the entire surface of this thing. It's very tedious, it takes a long time, and it's the aspects of 3D art that admittedly I find the most boring and laborious to do. But having said that, gotta do it. Maybe the boring part, but it's probably one of the most important things of the process, simply because I don't know, I guess it kind of makes or breaks a mesh when you're actually retopologizing for like the game engine and stuff. Because the way that you retopologize something can, you know, determine how well it's going to animate, how it's going to deform. But you know, if you've never done any of this before, you're going to find it is really awful stuff. I don't find it enjoyable at all. But all I'm doing right now is clicking with my left mouse button, and when I have like you know, I can see where I want to draw this polygon, I just hold shift and you can get like a preview, and then you just click on where you want the polygon to go and it places it in there for you. Fairly straightforward. And mine has expired, so I get this lovely message every 2 minutes, which I'm just going to have to deal with right now. Use the various different viewing modes to make this process as easy as possible. Once you've got all these sort of strange areas out of the way, you've sorted really. But I'm mainly just thinking about how this thing is deforming. Even though it is going into ZBrush, I really should try and keep it all quads. But I do know that ZBrush has some sort of triangle, what's the word, compatibility now. So I'm not going to worry too much straight away, and if I need to make changes, I can make changes when need be. But if you've never retopologized anything before, you're gonna find it a bit stressful. Because what I found that I did a lot when I sort of first started to do this is I was using more polygons than I needed, and I was trying to get everywhere. If you understand what I mean, I was trying to compensate for every tiny detail, you know, and you can't do that, you know. You have to be pretty poly conscious when you're doing this sort of stuff. But your main goal is to make like a mesh that is very evenly distributed, because when you subdivide this in Zbrush, you want a nice even distribution of polygons, so when you come to sculpting the areas that need more detail than the others, you're going to have enough resolution there. You know, just key areas like around the eyes and stuff. But I want to I want to do this as fast as possible, because you know, you don't want to, you know, do this over and over again until you lose interest. I'm just thinking this might be a problematic area. It's a bit close together. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to film myself do all of this, so I really feel as if you probably don't want to watch me clicking squares for an hour. But eventually I'll have, you know, this mesh going all the way around and be completed. You know, sometimes switch to this mode, which is pretty nice. You can, even though you can't quite distinguish some areas, it's a bit harder to see how well it's covering it, but in terms of getting your distribution down and spacing, it's pretty nice as this viewing mode. Yeah, I'm not a fan of retopping. I just remember when I was like in university still, and you know, I first came to do some retopolization, and I ended up like just retopping, like it must have been about 15,000 polygons, and you know, I'd hand drawn these polygons, so it's 15,000 polygons hand drawn. Is ridiculous, and it took me like 5 hours or something, and it was really bad, you know. It was such a waste of time. So you just want to avoid doing stuff like that. I don't know, it's just not my sort of thing. Yeah, I can see this area here being a bit of a pain in the ass. Probably what I'll have to do is on that bit is, you know, once I've completed this mesh, is to move it around in ZBrush a little bit, and then re-import the edited version of the high poly that I have in ZBrush, and then move a few polygons around in Maya to match that. But as for now, I'm not going to worry too much about what it is you know, where I'm placing stuff. Now, this isn't for animation. It doesn't have to be, you know, really, you know, like, I don't have to think about how it deforms and stuff, although I'd like to sort of begin to think about that stuff, but I don't necessarily have to think that far ahead. I'm just thinking where I should end this bit. I mean, I may as well push that straight into the middle and evenly spread. Spread that out. But once you've got this, once it's out of the way, you know, you're entering into the sort of really fun part of character modeling, which is the detailing process, and you know, really starting to get those, you know, high quality features to your character, and you can actually start to do anything you want, which is the most exciting part, really. It's a bit of a mess, but yeah, it's got the triangles out of the way at least. Oh, actually, because that the eye is around there, I'm actually going to go ahead and add in a lot more res. Or res, but like an sort of, you know, the eye edge loops. So when I come to sculpt that, I'm gonna get a pretty nice result. That's all I need, just something like that. It's gonna be hard to tie that into all this stuff. Without the adding a few triangles in there. So let's see what that looks like. That should be good enough for what I need. Sculpting around that. Don't know if we can solve that issue with that triangle there. I think that'll probably work a little bit better in my favour. Right, just going to pause this video now and I'll finish off this retop. Yeah, I haven't done yet, just calling in to talk about fingers if you want to see the progress so far. Built most of the guys, got the arm to do, and I'm going to clean up a little bit. I actually tested the upper body in Zbrush just to see how this projection is working for me so far, and it is quite, you know, really pretty effective. Yeah, it works really well. I'll show you in a minute. But if you're using the same method as me, using Nex, when you come to doing the fingers, you may find that using the quad draw functionality on these fingers is going to be a bit difficult. So what I usually do when I'm doing fingers is I simply just get a polygon cylinder. But you can already tell where this is going to go. I'm not sure if I should make this 4 or maybe 5. Just because, you know, I'm trying to think, you know, just because of the amount of polygons I'm using around here, you know, if I use an eight-sided cylinder for the fingers when I'm, you know, going through the subdivision levels, I'm probably going to have too much mesh, too many polygons in there. So I'm going to go for 4-sided cylinder, and well, which becomes a square obviously. And I'm just going to pull that up and snap it to the top, so I'm bang in the middle of this thing. May as well do his index finger. Just, you know, roughly place it where the knuckle is, and then this message is really irritating, but they have no means or no method of removing that, as I am completely broke and I can't afford anything right now. You know, to square up, it's basically creating a shell around this finger. And then, you know, just use the edges here to follow the shape around. Extract, you know, it's just a lot easier to do it this way, because I press extract on that bad boy. There you go. In 2 seconds. I think I might have soft select on. Pain in the ass is that. Okay. Just using the rotational stuff and a move tool to place this in to where it needs to be. Scale up and down. But, you know, don't be too nitpicky about this, because yeah, the projection stuff in Zbrush is going to take care of most of what you're doing. It's just a lot easier just to do it this way, opposed to trying to click round this round sort of tiny shape. And then because you've got the may as well add in some edge loops, just where the no, not that one. Make sure I haven't got a where's edge loop. I've been in Maya for so long as well. I don't think I've got edge loop on here. Nope. Let's make a hotkey for that. I'm going to put some edge loops in just where the finger bends and at the base of the finger. And then I'm going to duplicate that and move it along to the next finger, which quite simply, you know, I can just place around to where it needs to be. Like so, and the projection will take care of the rest. There is pinky finger. I also want to talk about triangles. I remember a few years back when I was like first sort of using Zbrush for my, you know, like the first sort of I guess exposure to the program, and you know, I was learning more about it, and you know, about 3D art as in general. I heard all these, you know, things about triangles and how you should avoid them like the plague, and I'm just thinking about, you know, people who haven't done much retopping in their life. You know, they're pretty new to the concept of you know, doing this sort of stuff. Don't be too afraid about triangles. You know, ZBrush isn't going to explode if your mesh has got a few triangles in them. You know, I just tried it out now. I just went in, you know, with the top part of this model, and it did fine. You know, there was no problem. I didn't even get a warning message. So, you know, when you're going through and you just, you know, retopping everything, don't stress out that much if you're getting triangles. Sometimes it's the only way to solve the problem. Sometimes, you know, you have to actually put a triangle in there, otherwise you can't do it. Once I finish this, I will show you what I mean. And I'll show you why we're doing this awful task. So we're getting these out from inside. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then all that's left to do is just combine these into one piece. I'm just going to set these tips and just fill them in. Where's it gone? Oh yeah, custom. Just fill the ends in, so you know you have something there. And then I'm going to add that to the actual main piece, just by combining that to that. Hit quad draw, and you know I can go back into this now and start to draw these polygons in. It starts to get a bit painful towards the end when, you know, there's just so much sort of stuff going on everywhere. It really is the worst part. Might have to do this manually. Sometimes it just doesn't, you know, just doesn't pick up. If I can get that in there, because you really have to think about when you subdivide these pieces into ZBrush. Because every time you subdivide, you know, you're going to get 4 new polygons and then 4 new ones, and then, you know what I mean? And it's going to get pretty ridiculous in some places if you're not careful. Like if I added that extra line in there, I think it'd be a bit too much. I'm just going to continue down his hand. Almost done. Back into ZBrush and some more fun. I'm going to actually make some triangles in these, so I don't have too much information in this hand. But you know, I'm going to repeat myself in saying that if you've never done this before, you're going to find it pretty awful. And the more you do it, the more you'll see different ways to solve the problems that you face when you're doing stuff like this. A lot of the time it's just having the right camera angle, which is irritating. And sometimes the normals on these, when you place down a polygon, the normal sometimes gets, I guess, placed the other way. Like, I can show you what I mean. I think I've got a hotkey face normals. There you go. See these lines? Sometimes when you make a polygon using that, and it's very rare that it happens, I think it's to do with, you know, how dramatic the angle is between the two. Sometimes that line or the face normal will be facing inwards, and it won't let you connect. It won't let you draw a polygon if you're trying to connect it to a polygon which the normal face isn't the same. So it's just something to look out for when you're doing stuff like this. And if it won't click and you've tried every different camera angle, it's probably the face normal. If you don't know how to access that, it's just in polygons, display polygons, and face normals. That's all that is. It's just that button. Okay, I'm just going to finish this up. No. Okay, pretty much done. Finally. At this part of the process, what I like to do is turn on the evil soft select, which basically, whenever I select something, it gives it a sort of fall off to that selection. Like if I start pulling that, it's going to pull all the pieces around it, depending on this fall off radius. And what I like to do is just, you know, go around, select certain points where the mesh isn't quite sort of covering, you know, it's sort of floating on top of the surface. Some areas require you to turn it off, but you know, just try and get the mesh so it's sort of like not sort of inside the mesh that I want to use for projection. So you know, just go around the mesh and sort of pull around a little bit until everything is sort of nicer and less interpenetrating. Only takes a few minutes. It's also a very good idea to do this when it comes to the texturing part of the model. When you're projecting textures, I just find that it projects a little bit better if everything, well, if the major areas aren't intersecting that much with the model. And you know, for a 5-minute quick, you know, run around the model, why not? Just pulling this around. Just inflate it all a little bit. Push it out, especially these toes. Pull these around. Make sure there's plenty of mass in there for the projection to do its work. It's looking pretty good. Especially that kneecap. Make sure that's nice. Get these palm muscles. Ah, not you. I should really buy this program. Alright. What I don't understand is, even though I haven't paid for it, they still allow me to use all the functionality of the program, except all I have to do is click the little X on a pop-up that comes up and now, and I get free software, which is kind of weird. I mean, it gets annoying, but free software is pretty nice. Right, belly area needs to come out a bit, especially this bit. And once this is done, we are now entering the sort of final sculpting stage now, which is pretty nice. You can start to, add little details here and there and really, get up to the higher resolution, higher numbers of polygons and stuff. I think that's looking pretty good so far. Yeah. I'm going to give that a go, see what it looks like. Let's just make this whole. Make sure I've got all these seams closed. Yeah, I thought I straightened that out. Snap that into the middle. Right, let's try that again. Yeah, just use the one in 3 options on your keyboard to switch between the property mode, and just go ahead and sort out areas so you can see. It shouldn't have that sort of pinch in the mesh if it was fully closed up. Is that going all the way around? Okay. Right. That seems to have got him. There you go. Just running my eyes down the middle of this model, making sure that everything is welded together. Looks pretty good. Ready? Right, last thing to do now is to save it, obviously, and rotate it 90 degrees. I think it was 90. Let's see. Should be able to find out using the mesh that I got from Zbrush. Yeah, that should be it. Let's wait for this to go and we'll jump into Zbrush and use the projection thing. Save, and we'll export this as shark decimated for projection. Save that, and I'm going to leave Maya open for now in case I need to jump back in and do any quick fixes. Alright. I need to open up my actual sculpt, and then I need to import the projection mesh, and I'm going to draw out the actual shark sculpt that we had, which is pretty cool. Got my subtools, and I want to append the one that I'm going to project with, which is looking like it's in the right place. Select that. I'm going to take off the eyes so I don't project them. I'm just going to go to geometry, and I'm going to turn off smooth, because if I smooth down, well, if I subdivide with the smooth on, it's going to ruin the silhouette that we've got, which is essential for the projection, as it's going to project all the detail from this underlying mesh onto this new mesh. So I'm going to divide once with the mesh I made in Maya, and completely default settings. I'm just going to hit project all, and I'll show you what the results of that are. You can see now on the first subdivisional level from the mesh that we made in Maya has, you know, well, it's starting to get all the detail from the mesh that we made 2 days ago. So actually I can leave it like this. Subdivide again with no smooth on, project all. It's projecting the only the visible meshes, and you can start to see now all the detail coming through. Do that again, project all again, and the higher and higher you go, the longer it's going to take, but everything's looking okay. Let me just switch my keyboard out of the way, get my Wacom tablet. Can start to see a few problem areas now. So you're probably going to have to sort of go in by hand and just fix out some of the areas that are not projecting as well as you need them to. It's always going to happen. Smooth out some of this. It's probably going to be the areas that have the most sort of smaller sort of, you know, detail and stuff. I was worried about this area, but it seems projecting fine. Okay, I'm just going to skim around and see if I need to smooth anything out. A bit down there. The head looks fine. Oh no. Such a noob. I forgot to turn on symmetry. So I'm looking. Right. It's got the symmetry on. Let's go back and redo those quick fixes. Okay. Glad I noticed that. I think everybody who's ever used Zbrush has done that. The old symmetry thing. Okay. Right. Now I'm going to turn on smooth. Which is smooth, and I'm actually gonna, under deformation, just relax it by maybe not that much. In fact, now let's just see what I get. Right, projectile. See what it gives us. It's probably going to take a few seconds to think about it. I'm on 500,000 now. Okay. Starting to get back up there. It's looking a bit nice. The main issue seems to be around here. Let's have a look. Yeah. No matter. Easy problem, easy fix. Okay. seeing if we've got any obvious things that need to sort out. It's looking okay. Alright, projection seems to have gone down pretty decent. Yep. Missed that problem. It's always easier to go down to the lower subdivision levels and work your way back up. Smooth out these areas. Okay, I think that is pretty much all the major problems solved. But I'm going to explain to you now why we just did what we did, the whole, you know, the process of making this new mesh and transferring all the details onto it. I mean, it does look like we haven't really achieved much, but I assure you that is not the case. I mean, it is quite subtle what we've achieved, but I feel this is a necessity really, so I'm going to save that now. So I'm going to play around with a few different functions that may cause a crash. Shack hybrid, we'll call this retop sculpt. Alright, so let me explain now. As we go into polyframe, you can see the topology from the model that we made in Maya and how it looks. Everything about it, the way it flows around the shapes and stuff of this model is decent, you know. Much better than what, well, whenever you start in Zbrush, you know, using like Z-spheres or from there, just a regular sphere like I did, you'll end up with something that looks like this. Which is, you know, especially because we dynamesh it, it's just a straight grid, you know, like a piece of math paper. You know, there's no way for ZBrush to account for your sculpting, you know, these shapes that you start to pull out. And that's the beauty of doing your own retopologizing, because you get to, you know, by hand pick out the areas where you need to have that detail and where you don't. You know, like you can give yourself a nice spread of polygons, you know, like around the eye here, you know, I've got plenty to work with and shape that. But also, as well as giving you, you know, those options. And let's compare, right? This is 0.5 mil. There probably won't be much difference. No, there's no, almost 600k. Yeah, it's not that much difference, to be honest with you. But I just feel like doing this is going to give me, especially when I'm sculpting now, because the topology is complementing where I'm going to be stroking this mesh, the results of that are going to be a lot cleaner, and just the results is going to be generally nicer. Also, I have this, which is a super low res version of my, you know, the high res model, which is really easy to pose. You know, it's only 600 polygons. I could probably even pose it with that one. So, I mean, if you compare this one, which is from Zbrush, the lowest it goes is, this 36,000 one, which for posing, 36k isn't that bad, but there's the low resolution on the other one. It's just so much nicer to work with when you're posing and moving around and stuff. So you get that option as well. Plus, you've actually got a base all ready to make a game res version later on. You can just edit the low res mesh that you made. But anyway, you can delete that one as we no longer need it. Right. Bring back our eyes, and now I can quite literally just go in and detail this to the end. I'm just going to play around with the pose a little bit now. Let's just try and move out this arm a little bit away from this side. Shit. Never really been good at posing. It's not something I do often. It's a little bit nicer. I'm also going to bring the arm round a little bit. Turn his feet a little bit. Having a super low res version of your model always makes it easier to pose. That probably isn't a very good idea. Just thinking about how he stood as well. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a bit nice. A lot nicer. Allows me to get in there a little bit easier. I'm also thinking of bringing out this hip area without making it look too weird. Just beef him out a little bit. Yeah, I think that makes him a bit more badass, having the wide sort of legs. Let's get rid of these arms. Alright, that's pretty good. I was thinking about the surfboard idea as well. I might make his surfboard into some sort of surfboard pole arm. You know, it's got like some sort of like big blade hanging off it. It's really up my street. Right. So all I'm going to do now is just be going around and really sort of refining areas to perfection. But we're at the stage now where it's going to start to get finished pretty quickly. You know, I can add stuff like teeth, gills, anything I want. Now I have this realised mesh, so I'm just going to get to that now. I'm going to try and start recording if I'm going to do something sort of worth mentioning, but it's going to be quite literally what I was doing before with the clear build-up brush with this alpha on mostly. Maybe experimentation with other alphas and stuff, but you know, you don't really use many alphas until you start to detail much. It seems to be the case that most artists find a set of brushes or one brush most of the time that they just stick to and refine stuff with, and that's literally all I'm going to be doing, man. But there is one thing that I want to try out just for the sake of it. I'm just going to save this. Where is it? Clay polish. I just want to see what happens. Wow, that makes it look pretty smooth. That bit's fucked. Huh. Didn't notice that. Right. Let's see. Sharpen. Put sharpness up to 45. It's quite chiseled. Makes it look like rock. The only problem with doing this is that, you know, you can get a lot of these weird areas where it's just pinched together your mesh. Maybe I'm not quite sure how I could. Yeah, it's just not really workable. I think it's sort of a quick fix, really. Those are pretty cool, though. And then we get the same results. It's just like using a filter in Photoshop or something, I guess. Let's do this head for a little bit. Start with the fun stuff. Itchy ear. You can probably narrow that down a little less. Use the lasso. Cool. I haven't got any reference up yet. Just trying to think about the what shape I want this eye to be. I found that when you're sculpting, a lot of the time, sort of big, long brush strokes are much more effective than loads of little ones. So really sort of play around with how you're sort of stroking along and stuff. But sometimes, you know, you're just sort of feeling up an area. You know, it does take a few strokes to change it to the mark, sort of, you know, change it to, you know, so much to what you want it to be. See how sort of effortless it's becoming now. You know, I retopped that area and, you know, it's starting to come together pretty fast. I want this to look kind of saggy, you know, like really sort of old battered skin. I left this too late lately. Been procrastinating all day. Don't know why I do it to myself. Not enough res yet to do that. Just focal shift down a little bit. Just going to smooth that out for the higher levels. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to make the muscles sort of intersect with one another. Probably complement them with wrinkles or something. For the gills as well, I'm probably going to use separate meshes for them, and just create a few variations, and then just, you know, copy and paste them and change them slightly. So I want it to look really, really fragile in there. Create a nice smooth line. Put a bit of perspective on there, see what it looks like. Pretty mushy. Yeah, it's really starting to take shape now. Probably only need about 2 more subdivisional levels. But I'm really going to work each level to death, you know. It's maybe like a two-day sculpt, depending on how much I work on it. Because my work ethic isn't very strong right now, for some reason. I swear I've got like bipolar or something. I don't know, I just seem to be really happy or really sad. There's no sort of in-between with me. Probably shouldn't start to add those details yet, it's a bit early. I think that I'm going to probably get the H polish out for this. A little bit of H polish. Then I'm probably going to make this fin look like it's been sort of torn and bitten by other sort of sharks and stuff, or whatever it's been fighting. And a bit of clipping brush. Hotkey for the clipping brush is BCC, and you can just sort of quite literally clip away stuff like that. Okay. And I'm going to start to get my selector angle on the work. Let's do some of these gums. I haven't touched these yet. Like a lot of my characters, a lot of my stuff has like secondary gums, which I place in as a separate mesh. I don't know, I've always liked that look when something's baring its teeth and the gums are sort of like all over the place. Get that top bit going. And I'm going to probably stop this part of the recording. Right. It's looking a bit nicer now. Play around with the shape a little bit. Not quite sure what's going on with this sort of secondary eyebrow, but I don't know, I quite like it. Yeah, it's looking a bit nice. The only thing that I don't like about the eyes is that it's very hard to see them. I suppose that's an issue we'll have to address later on. Anyway, that head area is looking a bit nicer now, a bit smoother. Just got to do the same for the rest. And I'll probably get some teeth in there, some gums, tongue. No, gotta pause this video. Okay. There's not really much noticeable difference from a distance, but I have actually gone round and sort of just smoothed out areas and, you know, just made them a lot more sort of finalised in shape and stuff like that, which are now ready to be all detailed up and stuff, which is what I'm going to do next. And because that's such a long process, the next video is probably just going to be the I suppose like finished body, all detailed, well up to the point where I'm going to add like you know, little sort of areas of interest with different alphas and stuff, and I'll make a separate video for that. But for now, I'm just going to go through and sculpt everything. Started to do a little bit on his neck, on the eyes and stuff there, where the higher resolution was coming through. Probably have to go to another subdivision level to get where I want it to be. But because, you know, I put the extra sort of stuff where the eyes were, I was able to sort of go in and do what I wanted to do with them, which was nice. Still playing around with the shape of them, but they were a lot better than the what it used to be. I think for the pose, I'm probably going to have his head sort of looking up, so I can show where the eyes are and stuff. He's probably going to be holding his surfboard in one hand, looking all cool and stuff. Oh my god, it's like 4 AM, and I have like an ulcer. I have an ulcer in the back of my throat, and every time I sort of gulp and speak, it just aches like fuck, and it's really annoying. It's probably the worst thing about having an ulcer in your mouth. Oh, because you can never itch it. You're just stuck with it. Depending on how long this takes me, this video might be delayed for 2 days. But you know, we're fast approaching completion, which is pretty cool. So I'll make his what is it board? Yeah, his surfboard, I suppose. But for the character and stuff, it's coming on pretty nice. Everything's a lot smoother now. Makes a bit more sense. Okay, it's got the just gotta grind it out now. Save that, and oh crap. Yeah. Pretty much it.